Let's have a quick conversation about exporting from China to the US. And the thing is that here's a resume I want you to really pay attention to. The thing is, if you're thinking about exporting from China to the US, of course, you are tapping into a multi-billion, even $1 trillion industry because I mean, those are the top two economies of the world. Okay, so basically, the whole thing here is that you can actually, whether you have a small e-commerce store or a medium-sized e-commerce store, you can actually export physical goods from China to the U.S. Now, the thing is that I want to speak to you about the regulations, the documentation, how to choose partners, and also how to really go about shipping methods. If you want to really take advantage of, if you want to take advantage of the possibilities that we have in this country. So understanding the de minimis value customs exemption for shipments under $800 can also reduce cost and expedite clearance. So this is an important element. And when you think about exporting from China to the U.S., you can try to really have a shortcut, which is basically you can export from Hong Kong, which is part of China, to the U.S. So that, but the thing is the Hong Kong location is kind of cool because it can offer faster delivery times, reduce cost, and improve customer service compared to, let's say, direct China shipments, especially because, see, China is a big country. It's kind of similar, a big country in terms of geography, kind of similar to the States. So where you actually shipping from will play an important role, okay? So for e-commerce businesses actually exporting from China to the US, choosing the right strategy here, that's kind of cool because you are able to seize opportunities. You can tap into the half a trillion trade volume between the US and China, okay? And this is kind of cool. And one thing for sure, you need to have a license. So a license may be required to export from China depending on the imported products. And an export agency can actually be a useful tool if the Chinese manufacturers do not carry an export license. So something to really think about, especially if you are trying to make money in the long run, okay? And China, as of today, is still exporting goods to the U.S. Not a problem. Don't listen to politicians actually fighting and really actually threatening tariffs and what have you. China is and the U.S. are still good partners. The U.S. is exporting to China, and so is China also exporting to the U.S. So that's kind of important. Now, one thing for sure, exporting products from China actually requires several steps, including finding a supplier, obtaining necessary licenses, and arranging shipping, like not only in the short run but also in the long run. So that's important to really think about. So here are the requirements I want you to really pay attention to. So exporting from China to the U.S., it's important to really first start with having the right Chinese supplier. Okay, and so otherwise, if you have a supplier that's not really reputable, that's really bad because you want to select reputable Chinese suppliers so that you can navigate through the export and China import regulations and ensuring also timely shipments that meet customer expectations, right? It's all about making sure that you are having the right setup right off the bat. Now, I want to talk to you a little quickly about export regulations and customs clearance. So the export market is heavily regulated by both the Chinese government and the U.S. Customs Authority, okay, the CBP. So what you want to do is you want to familiarize yourself with these regulations before you start anything. Now, the regulations are kind of different depending on the product you are exporting from China to the U.S. Okay, every you have a whole lot of categories of products, and every category actually falls under a certain jurisdiction. So key documents like the pro forma invoice, the packing list, and bill of lading are essential for a smooth customs clearance, helping you avoid delays that could really affect customer satisfaction and your business's reputation, especially if you are doing if you're selling online, if you are selling you don't want your customers to be pissed off because the products were delivered late, okay? And also you need to understand the role of the Chinese government. So the thing is that when you are like if you are considering exporting from China to the US, you have to really understand the role of the Chinese government in the sense that the Chinese government plays a pivotal role through the General Administration of Customs and other regulatory bodies in setting the framework for exports. And this includes issuing actually export licenses and also HS codes that classify your goods actually for international trade. you are thinking about actually exporting from China to the US, what you want to do is you want to first think about obtaining an export license. And so to legally export goods from China, obtaining an export license is kind of necessary. So this is a legal document, by the way. It's a legal document. So this is actually required for specific goods subject to export controls. So you got to really obtain that from the competent authorities before you can ship your products overseas. And what I mean by competent authorities, it depends on the location where you are shipping, the location in China where you're shipping items from to the U.S. Okay, and you also got to think about choosing the right shipping company and freight forwarder. So it's important because you want to have the right partners. Right partners can really help you navigate the maze, if you will, of regulations. Right. So selecting a reliable shipping company and freight forwarder can significantly impact the efficiency of your export operations. And you need that. You need to have a very successful export operation. Otherwise, you wouldn't survive in the long run. And so these two partners, freight forwarder and shipping company, can help you actually in handling things like the logistics of international shipping, ensuring that your goods reach their destination safely and on time. And you need that. You need to have this sort of destination also, like a safely destination, like safe destination, and also prompt destination. And I spoke to you a little earlier about a pro forma invoice. That's quite essential. If you are going to export from China to the U.S., you got to really pay attention to a commercial invoice. That's really important. The CBP plays an important role, plays an important sort of places an emphasis on that document. So a commercial invoice is not just a bill for your goods, but a crucial document for international trade. It really, when you think about it, provides all the intel needed. It provides the authorities with all the intel needed. It provides, for instance, all the necessary details about the transaction, which customs authorities use to evaluate duties and taxes, ensuring compliance with international trade laws. So if you are exporting from China to the U.S., there are trade laws between China and the U.S., and the CBP, among others, are going to pay attention to the commercial invoice to see where the transaction falls under. If you want to export from China to the US, you also want to start thinking about working with international suppliers and export agencies, okay? And what you want to do is you want to first find out those international suppliers and export agencies, and you want to build strong relationships with those suppliers, okay? Now, what do I mean by that? What I really mean here is that you want to really have a clear idea of what's really happening. And so the export agencies can provide you with competitive advantages, such as access to high quality raw materials and goods at very competitive prices. And these partnerships are really quite essential when it comes to maintaining a steady supply chain of import products and meeting the demands of your markets. Okay, and that's something you want to do, especially in the long run. You also got to think about the logistics of exporting goods, so things like air freights and more. So choosing the right mode of transportation, such as air freight or sea freight, for that matter, affects the total cost, delivery times, and handling of your exported goods. So if you want to export from China to the US, you have to think about that, okay? So understanding the nuances of each option will help you make decisions that align with your business objectives and customer expectations. One thing for sure, the geography where you are at in China will play an important role. Let's say if you are, let's say in Beijing, for instance, and you're shipping from Beijing to LA to California, that's a lot easier than shipping from Beijing to, let's say, New York or to Boston, for instance. So you got to really think about that, and the mode of freight, your freight mode, will play an important role. You also got to think about legal and regulatory considerations in different countries. So exporting to different countries means what? Complying with a range of legal and regulatory requirements. I mean, logically and understandably, the laws in China are different from the laws in the States. And so if you want to export from China to the US, you have to really abide by the laws in this country. So this include everything from export licensing to ensuring that your imported goods meet the specific standards and regulations of the destination country. And in this case, this is the US. So you got to really understand that not only in the short run, but also in the long run. I want to talk to you quickly about the minimus. So the minimus value, you have to really understand the minimus value. And the minimus value refers to the threshold below which imported goods are generally exempt from custom duties and taxes. And this can be a significant cost advantage for e-commerce businesses exporting smaller quantities of goods. Okay, so for exports from China to the US, the current de minimis value is $800. This means what? It means that if the total declared value of your shipment is less than $800, it will likely clear customs duty free. Now, don't try to really underestimate the products, because if the authorities catch your ass, this is really bad for you. Okay, so basically, there are some key points to remember about de minimis value. This is not a guaranteed exemption. So while customs authorities typically do not assess duties and taxes on shipments below the de minimis value, it's not a guaranteed exemption. They may still request actually additional documentation or inspect the goods. You also have per shipment value. So the de minimis value applies to the total declared value of each individual shipment, not the total value of your exports to a single customer within a specific time frame. So very important to think about the categorization here. Also think about limited quantities. So the minimis value is intended for personal or non-commercial imports. So if customs suspect large quantities are being broken down into multiple shipments to avoid duties, they may actually deny the exemption. Now, of course, when you think about the de minimis, you have a lot of benefits here, because this is a really great consideration to think about. So you have reduced cost, you have faster clearance, and you have a simplified process. So when I speak about reduced cost, saving on duties and taxes can improve your profit margins and make your products more competitive. And you also have faster clearance, so shipments valued below the de minimis threshold often experience faster customs clearance, leading to quicker delivery times. And you also have a simplified process, because exporting low-value goods under the de minimis value can determine the overall export process. Now, there are some important considerations to really think about. You want to be transparent. You want to combine orders, and you want to also be aware of future changes. So transparent in the sense that you always want to declare the accurate value of your goods on customs documentation, because misrepresenting the value can lead to penalties and delays. And you also want to be cautious with combining multiple orders for the same customer into a single shipment to stay below the de minimis value. This could raise red flags for customs. And also, the de minimis value can be subject to change, so you want to stay informed about any updates from the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, the CBP, that I was just telling you a little earlier about. Now let's talk about Hong Kong to the U.S. The thing is, as I was telling you earlier, if you want to export from China to the U.S., maybe it's just better to take a shortcut, because basically you can fulfill from Hong Kong today. This really takes you a lot of challenges off your plate, because basically you can have actually you can really have a smoother and more cost-effective way to get your products to customers worldwide. And again, China, Hong Kong is part of China, so this is kind of cool. You are still under the authority of the Chinese government, but you are actually better and closer to the U.S., especially from the West Coast side of things. And why should you choose Hong Kong today if you want to export from China to the U.S.? Well, you have faster delivery times, you have enhanced customer experience, you have reduced cost, you have improved customer service, and you have a business-friendly environment. Let me talk about the business-friendly environment first. I mean, Hong Kong's strong legal system and trade-focused regulations make it, when you think about it, ideal for international businesses. So whether you have an online store or you have a brick-and-mortar store and you want to import or you want to export from China to the U.S., going through Hong Kong is really a great opportunity, a great scenario. You also have improved customer service, because faster customs clearance and frequent tracking updates free up your team to focus on what matters most, your customers. Also, you have reduced cost. So as a free port, because Hong Kong is a free port, it has been a free port for many, many decades, not years, decades. So Hong Kong as a free port offers significant cost advantages. There are no import or sales taxes, and depending on your product value, you might avoid US import tariffs altogether. So this is kind of cool. And you also have enhanced customer experience. So major carriers offer a wide range of high quality services with superior tracking options in Hong Kong. And you also have a faster delivery time. So Hong Kong boasts superior global connectivity, shaving up to 3 days of delivery times compared to direct China shipments. Again, I want to insist on the fact that China is a big country, and depending on your geography, like the geography you're shipping from, you can actually be considering delays. Really. So the thing is, when you are exporting from China, when you're thinking about exporting from China to the US, there are some biggest challenges to really think about. First of all, you have rising cost, you have time management, you have shipping complexity, and you have growth constraints. Okay. In terms of growth constraints, you see the potential of international markets, but feel limited by the expertise and time needed to implement such a strategy. I mean, it's one of those things where if you're based in China or you have some sort of interest in the States and you are trying to really get things done a lot faster, you want to think about the growth constraints. You also want to think about shipping complexity because as your business grows, navigating shipping complexities like labeling, carrier selection, international regulations, and customer expectations actually becomes overwhelming, especially if you're trying to do things real fast. Also, time management is important in the sense that limited resources make efficient time management a struggle. Ideally, you would free up time for strategic initiatives that can really boost revenue over time. And also, you have a rising cost because you are constantly seeking ways to reduce expenses like shipping and fulfillment to maximize profits over time. So that's kind of important to really think about, especially from a scalability point of view. But long story short, if you have the right shipping partner, you can actually start thinking about reducing shipping cost. You can save time. Yes, time saving is really critical here. You can simplify international shipping. This is another important area to think about. Simplifying international shipping, and you can grow your business a lot faster. So this is kind of cool, especially if you have the right partner, because it's not just about having the right partner, but you got to have a partner who understands your shipping operations and also supports your your China to the US export initiatives. And that will help you in the long run actually achieve the level of profitability you want to achieve. That's an important element to keep in mind as you navigate the export import sort of rules. So here's the termination I want you to think about. So in today's conversation, I explained to you how to export from China to the US. This was a complete guide, and I give you the resume, the requirements, the de minimis rule, Hong Kong to USA, and also the termination now. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.